The Holy Gospel according to St. John, the 12th chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
6 days before Passover, Jesus went to Bethany, the village of Lazarus, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. There they gave a banquet in Jesus' honor, at which Martha served. Lazarus was one of those at the table. Mary brought a pound of costly ointment, pure nard, and anointed the feet of Jesus, wiping them with her hair. The house was full of the scent of the ointment. Judas Iscariot, one of the disciples, the one who was to betray Jesus, protested. Why wasn't this ointment sold? It could have brought nearly a year's wages, and the money been given to the poor people. Judas didn't say this because he was concerned for the poor people, but because he was a thief. He was in charge of the common fund and would help himself to it. So Jesus replied, "Leave her alone. She did this in preparation for my burial. You have poor people with you always, but you won't always have me." The Gospel of the Lord. So it's probably, most everybody here knows, or if you don't know, let me point out that the construction paper flowers that are up here beautifying our sanctuary were gifts to the church and to Dara Gibson's funeral made by Sam's class to celebrate Dara's life, to remind us that there is always new life. And so they are still with us. And it feels like a gift this morning because it has been, for many of us, some more than others, I believe, an emotionally exhausting week. After the death of Dara, there is, I think even if you don't know the Gibson family well, there's no easy way to reconcile the death of a 4-year-old. There are no adequate words in times of unexplainable loss. Many, many people mentioned to me that they wondered what I would say at the funeral of a 4-year-old. I wondered myself, and I believe that I sweated all somewhat adequate words out yesterday, and so today I will confess to you that I have little left to say. I have little left, and I have little inspiration. So the good news for all of you is it will be a short sermon. Well, it is a gift beyond measure to be a preacher. It is also a weight. One which often leaves me wondering why God leaves it up to fragile, fallible people like me to proclaim grace and love, forgiveness, and new life. Some of you may have heard me say this before, because I have said it before. But it is something that I have never forgotten and I'm sure contributes to my preaching anxiety. I had a professor say to me in seminary once that if Jesus didn't need to go to the cross for what I was about to stand up there and say, then why am I saying it? Well, I'm going to tell you straight up today, I don't know if Jesus needed to go to the cross for what I'm going to say today. What I do know is today I want to be Mary. I want to sit at the feet of Jesus, praying and singing. I want to pour perfume over his feet and not care about the grime of the earth when it ends up underneath my fingernails. I want to cover him with my hair and weep terribly for the sadness and brokenness of the world. I want to touch his robe and know he is real one last time, feeling the weight of his hand on my brow. And I want my nostrils to be filled with intoxicating nard and sweet breads. But that's not where I am, not after this past week. I have been compartmentalizing my emotions, promising myself that I will deal with them next week. I have been blindly moving through days, completing tasks as they arise, rising only when my alarm wakes me, and thankful that the sun doesn't need me to wake it up. And I'm pouring glasses of soda to keep my motor running, rather than wasting time with perfume and lotions. I just keep moving. Sitting, resting, and sleeping seem too risky and too vulnerable. And so mostly I want Jesus to love me into a place other than now. which is why the fact that Mary stays in the now, despite the fact that Jesus is leaving and going to the cross to die, strikes me so harshly this week. I mean, how does she do that? How does Mary stay in the now? She is so very vulnerable, knowing that being present in the moment will allow her to experience the fullness of life, the good and the bad. And she acts with such beauty and insight and open-handed grace. She sees what the disciples either miss or they refuse to see or compartmentalize. That Jesus, even as he prepares for his entry into Jerusalem, is also preparing for his death. And she may not know exactly what the future holds, but she knows that life is about to be very different. And she's not afraid of it. She's not afraid to look at death. She's not afraid of losing Jesus or of letting him go. When Jesus raised Lazarus, her brother, from the dead, he gave Mary the gift of living hope. And she has learned that there's no such thing as love that is too extravagant or hope that is too lofty. And I think that when Mary sits at Jesus' feet, she returns that gift to him. She allows Jesus to be present in the now, to experience love one last time, and to be touched. And in doing so, she loves Jesus into the future, just as Jesus loved her into the future when he raised Lazarus. And I believe that Jesus took Mary's love with him into Jerusalem and to the cross. I believe that her love emboldened him and comforted him. I believe that her love embodied living hope for him, even in the midst of death. Which I think is striking, that Jesus needs our love as much as we need Jesus' love. Mary is brave enough to keep on loving, even though loving Jesus will break her heart. Brave enough to hold him close, even though he's on his way out the door. Brave enough to let him touch her, even though it'll be the last time. I am not as brave as Mary. I wish I was. I am jealous of Mary. I wish I was like her, but I am just me, standing here wondering what it would be like to allow myself to sit at Jesus' feet and cast my fortitude, resistance, and armor aside and lay my head on his lap and just rest. Whispering the words that stick on my tongue, trusting that love won't break me, and let him stroke my hair. If I could do that, I'd weep big crocodile tears and sop them up with my robe. And I would pray that he knows that I love him even though I'm not married. I'd ask him to carry my love with him to the cross. And then I'd beg him to keep loving me into now, even when now is the last place I want to be, so that I don't lose track of the living hope that carries us into tomorrow. That's what I'd do if I could sit at Jesus' feet. And so I wonder, how would it be for you if you were to sit at Jesus' feet?